Welcome. This is Majesty's Sussex Report, and I'm Antonio. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time here with us. There are moments when commentary ceases to reveal anything about its subject and begins instead to reveal everything about the commentator. This is one of those moments. Since the judgment in the case brought by Prince Harry, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, and five other claimants against associated newspapers, sections of the British press have behaved less like journalists reporting the outcome of a civil trial and more like victorious soldiers returning from battle. There has been triumphalism, ridicule, vindictiveness, a barely concealed appetite for revenge. But let us begin with the truth, because the truth has suffered enough indignities already. The court did not conduct a public inquiry into the entire history of the Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, or Mail Online. It did not declare every reporter blameless, every source legitimate, or every article lawfully obtained. It ruled on particular allegations concerning particular articles, applying the civil standard of proof and requiring the claimants to establish a article specific route to unlawful information gathering. Listen, that is a legal judgment. That's the judge, okay? This is not a baptism. It did not wash the newspaper clean of every historical stain. It did not transform suspicion into fantasy. And it certainly did not grant former male journalists, that is MAIL, journalists and their fellow travelers, a license to pursue the Sussex family with renewed malice. The judgment itself contains a remarkable example. The judge concluded that an email raised a prima facie case, that means in the face of, that unlawfully obtained flight information concerning Chelsea Davy had been sent to a male journalist. But because he was not satisfied that the information was commissioned by that specific journalist, used in the particular article, or at attributable to associated newspapers, the claim failed. Did you get that? In other words, something deeply troubling was visible in the picture. The court concluded that the final connecting piece had not been proven. That does not mean there was no picture. It means the legal puzzle was incomplete. Yet the response from certain corners of the media has been to hold up that missing piece and announce with immense self satisfaction that, oh, Canada may never have existed. You get what I'm trying to say here? So imagine a puzzle. The puzzle is the map of Canada. And you've completed the puzzle, but there's one piece missing. And all of a sudden, the judge says, well, kind of looks like it, but it's not really Canada. Because how can I really be sure without that one missing piece that that actually is the map of Canada? You get what I'm saying? I hope so. And into this festival of self congratulation walked a creature, because I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to call him a creature or the creature. So this creature predicted that Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, when they become teenagers and young adults, will make life a misery for Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. He cast two young children as future dynamic antagonists in a conflict they neither created nor understand. The Sussex spokesperson rightly described the remarks as deeply distasteful, extraordinary, and irresponsible, and said that children should never be dragged into adult disputes for the sake of a provocative soundbite. Mature enough, isn't it? Mature statement. The creature response was instructive. Not remorse, not reflection, not even the faintest suggestion that perhaps a grown man with a microphone should refrain from writing malevolent futures for children. Instead, he announced that the Sussexes had launched a relentless, ruthless, harsh, brutal, and angry attack upon him. How extraordinary. The man who placed children inside an imaginary generational war suddenly discovered the sanctity of human feelings when his own were inconvenienced. Hmm, reminds me of someone else who walked off a stage. Hmm. He then informed us that his great crime was journalism. No, really, his great crime was journalism. I'm about to fall off this chair. Not merely journalism, though. He said it was elite level journalism. Now, if that is elite level journalism in the United Kingdom, oh Lord, that explains a lot. Journalism has survived dictatorships, war zones, censorship, imprisonment, and the invention of the royal podcast. Whether it can survive that compliment remains uncertain. This creature insists that children are always off limits. Yet, moments earlier, he had placed Archie and Lilibet directly on the battlefield, calling them potential future antagonists and troublemakers. He refused to use Princess Lilibet's name because he considers it stolen. Oh my, and then referred to the Sussex children as little creatures. Little creatures, while assuring his audience that he had never criticized them at all. That is not a red line. It is a revolving door, my friends. You cannot declare children off limits after assigning them motives, hostility, and future wrongdoing. You cannot predict that they will torment their cousins and then claim that you have said nothing about them. You cannot strip a little girl of her name, describe the children as creatures, imagine them as future enemies, and then climb onto the cross because their parents objected. The creature has not been silenced, he has been answered. Those are not the same thing. And the response from Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex was not an attack. It was the minimum response that responsible parents should make when a professional provocateur begins constructing hostile public identities for their children. But this creature is not an isolated case, you see. Jeremy Kyle has referred to the Sussex children as feral. He did. Danny Baker, as many of you know, greeted the birth of Archie with an image of a clothed chimpanzee and the words, "Royal baby leaves hospital," an act that resulted in his dismissal, but later, I was told allegedly he was rehired. Other commentators have treated the children's name, titles, legitimacy, and future personalities as materials of mockery and public suspicion. This is how dehumanization works. It does not always arrive wearing a white hood or carrying a banner. Sometimes it sits beneath studio lights. Sometimes it calls itself comedy. Sometimes it calls itself royal expertise, or it's defending the royal family and the monarchy. And when challenged, it calls itself journalism. How convenient. The process begins by making cruelty ordinary, you see. A woman becomes a monster, a narcissist, a manipulator, a danger to the nation. Her husband becomes unstable, treacherous, and weak. Eventually, their children are no longer permitted simply to be children. They become feral. They become creatures. They become hypothetical future enemies of three white royal cousins before they are old enough even to understand the institution into which they were born. No one needs to claim knowledge of every commentator's private heart to recognize the architecture of what is happening. They, in that creature's fantasy, George, Charlotte, and Louis, are positioned as the innocent future victims. Archie and Lilibet are assigned the role of future aggressors. The Wales children are granted childhood. The Sussex children are handed a criminal forecast. And yes, race matters here. Meghan has spoken publicly about her biracial identity, and the racialized dimensions of the coverage surrounding her have been examined for years, over and over. When her children are portrayed as menacing intruders into the future of the monarchy, that history does not magically disappear. Race may not explain every criticism, but intellectual honesty does not permit us to edit it out of the pattern. Which brings me to King Charles III, the grandfather, the monarch, the king, the man whom anonymous palace sources repeatedly assures us all the time that he misses his grandchildren. He wants to have a relationship with Archie and Lilibet, misses them terribly, and yearns for a relationship with them. Oh, how touching, King Charles. How exquisitely convenient. Because as of the 31st of July 2026, I cannot find no public statement, not even one, from Buckingham Palace or from any freaking palace defending these children from the suggestions that they will grow into enemies of their cousins. The official royal website recognizes them as Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, but the institution has offered no public rebuke of these remarks that I could locate. King Charles III's silence has developed a vocabulary of its own. It says they are family when a sentimental newspaper or article story requires grandchildren. They are strangers when protection requires courage. We are repeatedly invited to sympathize with a grandfather who misses the children. But public longing, accompanied by public silence, is not protection, sir. Affection, whispered through unnamed courtiers, is no substitute for one clear sentence spoken when children are being vilified. And let us dispense with the fiction that nothing could be said because the palace does not involve itself in media commentary. The palace involves itself whenever it decides institutional interest requires it. Silence is not an absence of choice. Silence is the choice. One need not speculate about precisely what Buckingham Palace would do if George, Charlotte, or Louis were described as future tormentors or feral little creatures. The relevant moral question is simpler. Why has no one possessing a crown a palace press office, and a direct familial relationship to Archie and Lilibet, found the courage to say that these children are not legitimate targets. Why? Not working royals, not rival courtiers, not constitutional threats, children. Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet have made no documentaries, written no memoirs, filed no lawsuits, briefed no newspapers, betrayed no one. Their offense is that they exist. That is their offense. Their offense is that they are loved by parents whom sections of the British establishment have decided must be punished indefinitely. Their offense is that they stand beyond the palace gates and may grow up free from the machinery that consumed previous generations. Perhaps that is what truly causes anxiety. Not that Archie and Lilibet will make anyone miserable, but that they may grow into happy, secure young people who understand that a royal bloodline does not require royal captivity. The Sussex children are not characters in that creature's imaginary civil war. They are not raw material for Jeremy Kyle's studio contempt. They are not symbols onto which bitter, bitter adults may project their grievances against their parents. And they are certainly not public property. Criticize Prince Harry if you want to. Criticize Meghan Sussex if you want to. Challenge their decisions. Examine their statements and disagree with their choices if you want to. But when grown adults begin assigning malice to a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, the conversation has left the territory of criticism. It has entered moral bankruptcy. History will remember the journalist who spoke. It will remember the broadcasters who laughed. It will remember the platforms that monetized it. And it will remember the grandfather who possessed one of the most recognizable voices on earth. Yet when his grandchildren needed that voice, the crown said nothing. The crown remained silent. Let the record show